You ever heard the phrase, good things come in twos? Well, that's especially true when it comes to Nintendo releases. In 2017, we had Super Mario Odyssey and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild come out in the same year, two all-star games that defined the Nintendo Switch. This year, we've had the Breath of the Wild sequel, Tears of the Kingdom release, in the same year as Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which came alongside Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 and Mario Wonder, two contenders for Game of the Year, releasing on the same day, solidified October 20th as one of the best days in gaming ever. It's a pretty special event too. The only other times I'd seen something like this was Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal. And also this Pokemon, and this Pokemon, and this Pokemon, and this Pokemon, and if you're interested in checking it out, I already reviewed Spider-Man 2 because, well, look at me, I'm a loser. Of course I'm gonna get hyped about the Spider-Man product. But regardless, I was getting much more excited for Super Mario Bros. Wonder the closer the release came. So now that I've gotten to play the game and finish it, let's get into this review. The Wonder Seeds really are something special. I'm so glad that Nintendo flexed their innovation and included them in this game. My only problem with them is that they're almost too fun and they turn me into a completionist. The only times I care about 100%ing a game are when I like the game enough, they're easy enough to complete, and there's some sort of completion reward, like a platinum trophy. But the Wonder Flowers are so much fun to play that I scour through the level trying to find alternate paths and hitting every block, hoping I'll find that Wonder Flower. It kinda rips me out of the moment and stops me from enjoying the base platforming as much as I regularly would, because I'm anticipating that section and what comes next. Every other Mario game was about surviving through the level and making it to that flagpole, which is impossible to avoid. I can stay in the moment and just think about jumping over pits and stomping Koopas, but now I have a new missable objective that I desperately want to complete. A new feature I love in this game is how you can hop through a pipe and end up traveling from the foreground to the background. Every gamer has seen an inaccessible mountain or area in the distance in a video game and thought, I need to go there. As open worlds have gotten bigger and bigger, developers have given the player the ability to go wherever they want. But I've never looked at the slopes and mushroom pillars of the Mario backgrounds and wanted to go there. It was always just window dressing to me. But Nintendo gave the player the opportunity to go back there and unlock a power-up or a purple coin. I would have liked to see this mechanic utilized more frequently throughout Wonder, but I'm content with what we have and appreciate the addition. In between main levels, you have these little bite-sized levels labeled Break Time, and they are honestly one of the best additions to the Mario franchise that this game has to offer. Sometimes they're executed a little poorly, but that's mainly my fault. The level will end with you getting a Wonder Seed after you collect coins on a music sheet that are arranged like an iconic Mario song. The idea is that you make the song as you collect the coins. However, I'm not exactly the best at 2D platformers. And I would not estimate my jumps correctly, and I'd pretty much always flounder around the stage on the note blocks and get the coins out of order. Oftentimes though, you'll face a fun challenge where you need to outrun the skeleton you set off or search for all the Wonder Seed tokens. While they don't fluctuate in quality, I do certainly have my preferences for which break time levels are my favorites. But as a whole, they're most certainly welcome to this game. One of Mario Wonder's biggest faults for me is the choice of power-ups Nintendo decided to include. There are some good ones I love. Elephants have always been my favorite animal, so to me, this is far and away the most appealing power-up in the game. I also love the mechanic of Mario storing water in his trunk that he can then spray on flowers, which will sprout and shoot out purple coins. I also adore how the trunk serves as a side attack, something very rarely seen in Mario games, if you count throwing fireballs as a side attack. Speaking of, there are then a few power-ups that are givens, ones that you're glad to see, but would be more surprised if they weren't there, like the Fire Flower and Superstar. But that extends to the point where some power-ups don't even really count in my mind as a power-up, like the Super Mushroom. It's honestly more of a tool for an extra hit point than a power-up to me. So we have one great power-up, 3 obvious ones, and only 2 left, and I'm really not a fan of either of them. The Bubble Flower honestly seems too slow for me. It's a more consistent version of the Fire Flower, which also gives you another coin, but the bubbles move too slow when you toss them out for me to use it too often, and the coin bubble slowly drifts off. You can place bubbles and bounce off of them, which you can do some crazy stuff with if you're good enough. I am not. So while I don't dislike the Bubble Flower, I'm always gonna pick the Fire Flower or Elephant power-up over it given the choice. I fucking hate the Drill power-up. It's purely because the hit detection can be really weird and send me into the ceiling if I jump too high. And most of the time I do, because you get a height boost when you jump out of the ground. I also have a very fast playstyle and end up using ground pounds a lot. And when you have that damn Drill power-up, you're going in the ground. I feel like the power-ups you consistently see in this game are all over the place in quality, ranging from the best concept I've ever seen to the one that makes me want to take medication. And they as a whole average out right in the middle. I know it would possibly take away some Wonder Flower sections from levels, but I would have loved to see things like Goomba Mario and Slime Ball Mario be actual power-ups you see much more consistently, even if it meant having to swap them out with the Bubble or Drill power-ups. especially because none of these power-ups are native to their kingdom. I think I would have preferred it if some power-ups like the elephant were obtainable in every area, but some like the fire flower was seen much more often or maybe exclusive in the underground mine area. Same with the icy area. Instead of having the kingdom mismatched to the bubble flower, I would have preferred to see instead the ice flower or the penguin suit make a return. While I do think that Nintendo dropped the ball in some aspects when it comes to the power-ups, those faults are easily forgotten and rarely stick out, considering the wide variety of badges in this game. It seems like they traded out some power-ups so that there could be this amount of badges. Like instead of the Tanuki gliding suit from Super Mario Bros. 3, you now can equip the parachute cap badge, which lets you glide through the air. I do really like their inclusion in this game and really appreciate how a majority of the time, no one badge is ever really mandatory. You can pick which one suits your playstyle, and they can even be used to pick up some of the slack in some platformer skills you're not as good at. Like I had a tough time with that special world hippo level, but it was made a bit easier by using the badge that gives you one save when you fall into lava or a pit. But there are some stages that are pretty much designed for one badge. Like take any water level in this game, literally any one of them. Why the fuck wouldn't I use the dolphin kick badge? I go faster, I can break through the brick blocks. The only reason I wouldn't use it is because I have to hear that damn sound effect over and over when I spam it. And to sidetrack for a second, Nintendo, I love ya. But I don't need to hear the spring sound effect every single time I jump, damn it! It's one of those things that you don't really notice, but once you do, or once it's pointed out to you, it's all you hear. One of the best decisions Nintendo made regarding the badges is having training levels to get you used to them, and not having you lose any lives in training when you die. The base game isn't very difficult, so I don't know what happens when you lose all your lives, but if you lost a life every time you died in training, you best believe I would have found out. In the same way Mario Wonder adds new power-ups in the place of some classic ones, they have a lot of enemy types that do a much better job of replacing the classics than the new power-ups do. You do see the given enemies like Goombas and Koopa Troopas, and the new guys are very charming and welcome additions, like the Hoppos and Bulls, but I miss seeing some of the originals. If memory serves, I didn't see a single Chain Chomp in this game, which really is a surprise. Like when I went to the underground world, I saw the jumping balls of lava and realized, oh yeah, those exist. I haven't seen them this whole game, I completely forgot about them. Speaking of, did you guys notice anyone missing in this game? I know with a playable roster this big, it's hard to imagine anyone being missing. Hell, they even brought in Captain Toad. And no, I'm not talking about the lanky purple guy that gets left out all the time. I'm talking about 7 little feral children that you can tell bite people just off of how they look. What happened to the Koopalings? They probably didn't add them in this game because there weren't enough worlds for each of them, and they didn't want to stretch the content too thin. But I feel like they really didn't need to keep them all and could have cut a few out. Or if they really didn't want to cut any of them out, they could have doubled up and had 2 per world. Another good alternative that I would have loved to see would be having each area taken over by the Broodals from Super Mario Odyssey. I think seeing them return in a 2D game would be a really interesting idea, and would link 2 of the best Mario games in the entire franchise. The reason I'm so for seeing the Koopa Kids or Broodals return is because fighting Bowser Jr. at the end of each world gets very repetitive. I honestly wouldn't even mind if the Koopa Kids played exactly like Bowser Jr. like they usually do. I just think that defeating one character permanently each time is much more satisfying and conclusive than having to beat Bowser Jr. multiple times. That being said though, the boss fights in this game are slightly above the status quo when it comes to 2D Mario games, as Bowser Jr. fights are pretty much the same as they always are, but you get to experience the stunning visuals that are unique in each fight. The main fight against Bowser is a little underwhelming, but the setting and aesthetic of the fight definitely pull their own weight. The airship sections are incredibly easy, with the key to beating their finale mainly coming down to rhythm, but they are a nice change of pace with the utilization of auto-scrolling. An overwhelming majority of my favorite levels in this game are the special world levels. They always have fun themes and concepts while delivering a steep spike in difficulty. They're not the hardest, but on average, they take me more tries than the average Crash Bandicoot 1 level does. It's honestly so much fun that even though I'll waste 15 lives on one level in the special world, I never really get frustrated. Fucking shit. Fuck. Damn it. Oh, fuck you. Motherfuck. Son of a bitch. Fucking hell. Fuck, damn it. Fucking piece of shit. And now that I think of it, one of the main reasons I'm never frustrated is because you don't need to survive with your purple 10 coin to collect it. If you grab it and die, it'll still be collected when you respawn at the beginning. That honestly does feel a little bit like cheating. But I feel like I'd have a lot less fun and get a lot angrier if I needed to get so good that I can not only beat the level consistently, but also optimize my movements to grab those collectibles. The only special level I have no need to replay is the bouncy hippo level, because landing on the hippo in the correct way to make it move where you want it to can be a bit finicky. I honestly got through this level with the elephant suit and parachute cap badge, abusing the iframes and floating as much as possible. So Super Mario Bros. Wonder does have online multiplayer, but with my double-digit bank account, the $20 that Nintendo Switch Online costs would be better spent someplace else, given how spotty the service can be. So no, I haven't actually played the online portion of this game. However, I have already bitched and complained enough to piss off Nintendo fanboys, so I feel like I need to skew and increase the ratio of praise to critique so that I don't get doxxed. So for my own safety, I am giving the online gameplay a 10 out of 10 rating. Please don't hurt me. One of the best ways I can explain what it's like to play this game is that it's like going to Disneyland. It's all one cohesive world of nonstop joy and cheesiness that's so wholesome it's almost vomit-inducing. I'm not really a guy that's into cutesy things. I understand the appeal behind it, but I often find it more cringy than appealing. I'm not mad at their inclusion, this is a kid's game after all, but these flowers are insufferable a majority of the time. Their spoken dialogue is a bit jarring for a Mario game. Aside from the occasional Let's Go's and Mamma Mia's, games of this franchise often pull from the same playbook as the LEGO games when it comes to dialogue. But it is safe to say that these goofy little flowers do have their moments. And a lot of the time the game would be too cute for my liking, but I love how damn funny it is. Everyone and their mom has seen it by now. But this scene is so ridiculous that it's hard not to love it. If you're a returning viewer and have watched a few of my videos, you probably know that while I love and appreciate all of the aspects that comprise a video game, like graphics and gameplay and art direction, one of my favorite things to see in video games is a great story. I love when good writing and characters are mixed into an interesting plot and watching it develop. But even I know that you shouldn't pick up a Mario game expecting a good story. That's pretty much never their focus. Okay, I wasn't expecting anything more than surface level when it came to Wonder's story, but there was no shock to this game. At the end of Mario games, there's usually some big shock for the final boss. In New Super Mario Bros. Wii, it was that Bowser turns huge, and in Odyssey, it was that you can use Cappy to control Bowser. But in Wonder, you just sort of beat Bowser and that's it. There aren't really any surprises. I guess you could say that the surprise is that it's like fighting Bowser at Aftershock, but given how many level themes there are in this game, a rock concert Bowser fight seems par for the course. In my perfect world, the twist would be that Bowser wasn't working alone in this game, and was instead working with Wart, the best villain of all time across all media. Sorry Darth Vader, but you should have been a royal frog. But I feel like you can rearrange Wonder to give it a big twist ending without introducing any characters that aren't already in the game. Since we never learned what Bowser was actually gonna do if we didn't stop him, and we don't really know his plan, I think it would be much more interesting if he didn't turn into a castle or get the Wonder Flower until the end. Instead, we could get sort of a Thanos chase where Mario is trying to get the royal seeds before Bowser does. And at the end of each world, Mario isn't fast enough and Bowser gets the seed, which would give this game its own version of Your Princess is in Another Castle. Bowser then keeps on beating Mario to the punch, and then in the very last area, the big shock is that Bowser uses the royal seeds to make a Wonder Flower that turns him into a castle. I feel like that would make the ending have a bigger lead up and be much more climactic than it already is. If I had a nickel for every game that released on October 20th, 2023 that I thoroughly enjoyed, yet felt the ending was a bit dissatisfying, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Although I will say in regards to that ending that I do love the way you play through the credits, jumping through the names to collect points. It brought me back to when I was a kid playing Punch-Out on the Wii, punching the messed up or character names. Believe it or not, this game was a bit controversial in the lead up to its release. A Super Mario game, released in the same year that Barbie had a geopolitical incident, was controversial. Now, this isn't to dog on the Barbie movie. They didn't mean to cause any issues. It was an accident that they apologized for. But don't you think there are bigger things going on in the world to worry about than the new Mario game? Now, if the controversy was a bit of a whoopsie like Spider-Man 2 using the Cuban flag instead of the Puerto Rican flag, yeah, I could see how that would be a big deal to a lot of people. But no. People were pissed off that Charles Martinet retired, and they hired new talent, Kevin Afghani, to voice Mario and Luigi. Charles Martinet is a national treasure who has had a great career and deserves to retire from the role whenever he wants and enjoy it. So yes, it is a bit sad to see him step down from the role, but I'm very happy for him. But what do you do after that? Here's what Nintendo could have done. They could have used AI going forward, which would suck so hard, and would certainly cause a strike in the video game industry. They also could have reused voice clips from old games and reused them, which would probably be much more cost effective, and pretty easy to do considering Mario mainly just makes sounds and says wahoo. But instead, Nintendo found Kevin Afghani, a young, undiscovered talent, and made him Mario. Not only does he have work, but he's voicing the fucking Mario Brothers. That must have been a dream come true for him. And on top of that, it's barely noticeable that it's a new guy. The only time I really can tell it's not Charles is when you pick Mario on the character select screen. But even when you notice it's Kevin, he's still doing a great job. Mario just sounds a bit younger, and I'm all for it. Congrats to Kevin Afghani for landing this role and doing such a great job. And to the people upset about this change, why? I get being upset seeing Charles leave, but I don't see any reason why you should be mad that Kevin is now playing Mario. On top of having stellar performances, the characters look really great. I initially found it to be a bit off-putting how the characters aren't facing directly where they're running. Instead, it's sort of having a 3/4 position, or how they're a bit chibi or a bit blockier than usual. But the designs have really grown on me, and it's nice to see these characters in a more cartoonish style, with brighter shading and more vibrant colors. I really cannot get over how these characters look without a mushroom or a power-up though. I think it has to do with how big their heads are in comparison to their bodies. They look like little Gideon. I don't mind it that much when the Toads are small though, and I think it's because I'm used to seeing his big-ass head. While I'm not the biggest fan of which power-ups are in this game, I think the characters look great in their new designs. Toad looks like Aladdin with his little vest on and huge pants when he turns into an elephant, and the light blue colors complement the vibrant green and red overalls of Mario and Luigi when they have the bubble power-up equipped. The overall art direction of this game is absolutely beautiful and a sight to behold. It's a great mix of vibrant and pastel colors that make every model in the foreground pop, and everything in the background blend into one cohesive landscape. This game also learned a bit from the recent Donkey Kong games and mixed 2D effects into their 3D assets, like the waves of color that spread when Bowser Jr. activates his Wonder abilities, and especially when the foreground turns into silhouettes and eyeballs in the stretchy Mario sections. Going back to how this game reminds me of Disneyland, it really does feel like an old Mickey Mouse short or one of their classic movies, as they do things like this that remind me of the old Alice in Wonderland. Super Mario Bros. Wonder has a few flaws that keeps this game from being a masterpiece in my eyes, but it gets very close. Before I give my score, I want to remind you that I am not the American education system. On my scale from 0 to 10, 0 is a disaster, 5 is an not good, not bad, and 10 is a masterpiece. Not perfect, but a must play. So with that being said, I'm giving Mario Wonder an 8.5 out of 10. I am not giving it a B, I am giving it an 8.5 out of 10. This is a great game that a lot of good, hard work and love went into, but I still think there's a bit of work to be done. Same with every game or product that innovates and does something new. One of the best ways I can describe this game is by comparing it to Sonic Frontiers. Mario Wonder is way better than Sonic Frontiers, but both of these games are new styles to their franchises, and a step in the right direction. Now that the groundwork has been laid out and they know how and where to improve, the sequel to Mario Wonder will probably be an 11 out of 10. The same way the sequel to Sonic Frontiers might be the first really solid Sonic game they've had in a while. Assuming they figure out how to get rid of those pop-ins. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video. This was a very fun and very interesting game to play through. It was really refreshing to play a new 2D Mario game instead of replaying old ones or turning to other franchises to scratch that itch. Let me know in the comments what you think of Super Mario Wonder. I'm always interested in hearing what you guys have to say and love discussing video games with you. Liking and subscribing help me out immensely and is greatly appreciated. And my next video should be a McSwaggins original, aka not a review. And I'm excited for you guys to see it, since there have been way too many games coming out for me to squeeze one in between reviews. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys next week.